Good afternoon, lunch bunch. My name is Raphael. I am an alcoholic, and wowzer. Glenn, thank you so much for asking me to speak. Even though I am in a replacement, you thought of me secondly, but I'm glad that you thought of me. I got to give a shout out to my sponsor, Edwin. I love you, brother. Thank you so much for coming by. He's the guy who keeps me in check. Um, yeah, my sobriety date is August 28th, 2018. I have a sponsor. He's got a sponsor. And where should I begin? Yeah, Glenn mentioned I get, there's another meeting that I attend every morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. And this month, when it's your anniversary month, you get to announce your anniversary. And I guess I make a little fun of it, a little joke about it. It is 5 years. And I am over the moon about it. And I got no problem showing that. I am very excited. I'm very happy. Um, I'm very proud of myself. And I'm very grateful. To me, it means the world. I got 5 years of sobriety. I cannot believe it. Um, I know there's people who got 20, like my man Jeffrey with his skateboards. That is amazing. Um, I know it is a daily program, one day at a time, but for me to arrive at 5 years, it just blows my mind. I don't know. I have no idea how I'm doing it, how this is working, but it's been 5 years of absolute bliss. That doesn't mean that there are, some bumps in the road. When those bumps do happen, I call my sponsor, I call Edwin, and he talks me down. Um, normally I haven't spoken in quite a while, but I got to tell you, normally before when I was asked to speak, about 2 or 3 days before the actual day, I would get so nervous. I would be in bed tossing and turning, thinking about what am I going to say? I need to say something that's going to help somebody. I got to be funny. I got to sound smart. I got to do this. I got to do that. And the last couple of days, I just reminded myself of what my sponsor tells me all the time. I said, Raphael, tell the truth. And after I heard that again in my mind, I slept like a baby. So here it is. This is the truth. Um, Whether you like it or you don't, that's up to you. But it's the truth. This is my story. Um, in order for me, I feel always, in order for me to tell my story, I got to tell you a little bit about my childhood, about my upbringing, because I do not believe that I was born an alcoholic. I know a lot of alcoholics feel like they were born an alcoholic. I don't think I was. So I'll tell you how it all happened for me. Um, I had an interesting childhood. I'm what you would call a circus kid. My father was a juggler, and my mother was a trapeze artist. And I was literally brought up in traveling circuses. I traveled the world with my family while they performed on stage for hundreds of people, and I would hang out in the caravan or backstage, or my sister would babysit me, or I was left to my own devices to run around backstage and get to know other artists. That was my upbringing. I have two memories from my childhood when my parents were married. The first memory I have was of my father in our home in New Jersey in Rochelle Park in the living room. He would take all the furniture and he would put it to the side. He would make like a big empty space in the living room and he would get out work lights. And this is around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, okay? He would get out these work lights and he would shoot them up to the ceiling and he would be practicing, because he had a club date either on Johnny Carson, The Tonight Show, or David Letterman. I don't know what it was, but he was rehearsing. That's my first memory of my parents when they were together. The second memory that I have is my mom and dad arguing with each other quite heavily, and my mom throwing a frying pan at my dad from across the room. And when I say she threw a frying pan, she didn't just toss it. My mom was a very strong woman, and she threw that frying pan with intent to do some damage. Somehow, my dad, he got out of the way, and the frying pan left a mark on the wall. And shortly after that, my dad was not in the picture anymore. I don't have many memories of my parents together because I was just too young and I don't remember. What I do remember was my mom trying to raise me. When my parents got divorced, my mom was left, so to say, holding in charge of me. My mom did not really have any. She had life skills, but my mom did not have an education. She didn't have a degree. She didn't have those kind of skills. She could barely read or write in English, but she spoke 9 languages. My mom wasn't able to get like a normal job. So growing up, my mom was many times she was a short order cook. She pumped gas at a gas station for a long time, and she did the best she could. I don't remember ever once anybody checking my homework from school or making sure I was in bed at a right time. No one. It's not. I don't want to say that my mom didn't care about me, but she just, she didn't really look after me too many times. And when I say I don't think I was an alcoholic, when I was young, I would get invited to parties that other kids were having, and I would go to the parties, and the parents were out of town, and the kids had, the wine cellar downstairs, and we were shooting pool, and the kids were like, stealing shots of tequila. I never did that stuff. I wasn't interested in drinking. I didn't see the point to it. But I was a bit of a wild child without drugs or alcohol. My mom did the best she could. And what happened was eventually my mom decided to put herself into school to get her shit together. So what she did is she went to a bartending school. She learned how to mix drinks, and she became really good at it. She would come home and she would practice making screwdrivers and highballs and martinis. And I remember her practicing at home with the shaker and all this kind of stuff. She didn't use real liquor, mind you. She used water and Coca-Cola, but she would practice and practice. And she finally she graduated. So the best to my recollection, she got a job at this place in New Jersey where she was a bartender. And what happened was my mom was also, besides being a trapeze artist, she was an amazing cook. She could cook you a meal from any part of the world. It would taste amazing. It was off the hook. So she got this job at a Hungarian bar. And on the weekends, she started making schnitzels, and this typical Hungarian food. And she would bring it in to make a little extra money. And the owners loved it. I don't know how it happened, but eventually my mom, she put some money together and she wound up buying that damn place. She became the owner of this restaurant. Okay, this woman that could not read or write in English, she figured it out and she owned that place. And that was great. Thing was, that wasn't really great for me because when I woke up in the morning, my mom was either still asleep, and when I came home from school, my mom was already gone at work. So I didn't really have any supervision other than the neighbor would come by every now and then and make sure I had food in me. And that went on for a while. What happened was, I think it was when I was 12, my mom had a boyfriend. They decided it was a good idea to go to Budapest, Hungary. I think they went for about a month. And my mom talked to the neighbor and said, "Hey, do you mind checking in on Raphael every now and then? I'm going off to Hungary for a month." Okay, so that's what happened. So I was home living by myself in Rochelle Park, no supervision. I got into a lot of trouble. I started cutting class. I started skipping school. I started learning how to hotwire a car. I learned how to, steal some things from the Garden State Plaza, which is what I did. I got into a lot of trouble. So I got busted, and what happened? They said, all right, Raphael, we need to talk to somebody. Where's your parents? I'm like, I don't know. I think my dad's somewhere in Europe, and my mom, I think, is in Budapest. Okay, bam. So what happens? I wind up in juvenile detention. I'm there for about a couple weeks. My mom finally returns from her trip, and the social services are there and said, "Look, Miss Brun, you can't leave your son alone like this." So we had to go to court. We're in court, and the judge says to my mom, says, "Okay, Miss Brun, do you want to continue taking care of Raphael, or what do you want to do?" And my mom said, "No, he can go live with his dad. I don't want him anymore." So that's what happened. I spent a few weeks with my sister. I got my passport. I don't know. I don't remember everything. I think I blacked it out somehow. And I was off to go live with my dad. Now I think I'm about 13, going on 14. And my dad is a juggler. Like I said before, he worked on stages. And when my dad would do his juggling routine, he would have a live flamenco guitars as an accompaniment, music for my dad. So I'm over there. I'm living with my dad. By the way, my dad put me into a military school because my dad, he had no basic life skills either. You know, we never talked about bank
I be
accounts.
homophobic, my boyfriend's gay. Hitman in a bum, try see a man cum car, even my dick is gay. Fucking my brother and sucking him off in a no homo way. The man them celebrate pride, I'll dick man down whatever they do.
All right. So, like with my dad, you know, we never talked about having a bank account. We never talked about, you know, you got to get good grades in school. None of that stuff was ever talked about. But my dad didn't know I can't just have my kid hanging out here at home all day. So I got to put him in some kind of school. So he put me into a military school. I went into a military school and it was atrocious. I didn't want to do ROTC. I didn't want to know how to shoot rifles. I didn't want to know any of that kind of stuff. And what happened was, like I said, my dad used to have flamenco guitars accompany him when he juggled. So one day I'm there in the theater, and it's a couple hours before showtime, and I see the guitarist. He's in the audience before the people let in. He's there warming up, and I walk by him, and I say, "Hey, can you teach me a couple of notes or something?" You know, I had no idea how to play guitar. I said, "Hey, can you teach me something?" He taught me a little melody on the guitar, and that was it. Show was over. I fell in love with playing guitar. I did it all day long. That's all I wanted to know about. That guitarist that used to accompany my father, his name was Reiner. I would wait for him in the dressing room for him to come, say, "Reiner, please show me something, show me something." He would show me something. I would run upstairs to the apartment. I would try and figure it out, figure it out. I'd come back down. I was like, "Is this right? Is this how you do it?" I would drive him nuts. Anyway, I'm going to military school, and I'm showing up to school with my guitar on my back, and I'm sitting in the back of the classroom playing guitar, and the principal is like, you know, "We got to call in your dad because this is just not working." So they call my dad, and me and my stepmom. We're sitting there in the principal's office, and the principal says to my dad, he said, "Mr. Brunn, your son is just he's not doing what he needs to do." And my dad looks over to me and he says, "Raphael, do you want to continue with your school or do you want to be a guitarist?" I said, "I want to be a guitarist." So my dad stood up and he said to the principal, he said, "Thank you very much for your time." And we left. So I never finished school. I kept on playing guitar. And that was great. When you're 14 years old, it's like, wow, this is awesome. Now, the thing about my teacher, Reiner, he was he was a raging alcoholic. His drink was cognac and beer. He used to love this stuff. And when I was young, I didn't see these things. I didn't notice them. But as time goes on, you know, I'm kind of like influenced by him and by the people around him. Like all these guys are drinking, you know. So I start having a beer every now and then, here and there, you know, having a beer with him, whatever, you know, cool, whatever. It turns out though that I am a horrible alcoholic. I cannot hold my liquor. I can't drink more than 1.5 beers. I pass out. So this was an issue for me because I wanted to keep up with these guys. You know, this is my teacher. I want to be cool. I want him to be involved in this stuff that's going on, but I just can't handle it. So time goes on, and I start working with Reiner. He starts using me as a second guitarist. We do little gigs here and there. We go on tours. And I'm like, this is great. And all of a sudden, I start noticing while we're in the theater that everybody keeps on disappearing to the bathroom for long amounts of time. And this is happening before the show, in the intermission, after the show. And I'm thinking to myself, who the hell goes to the bathroom 5 times in 2 hours? I mean, who needs to relieve themselves that much? Anyway, I go into the bathroom. I see what they're doing. The lines are on the toilet seats. The mirrors are out. The straws are out. I was like, this is what you guys are doing. I see. So I finally get a taste of that. And guess what? When you mix certain substances, Man, I could drink for days. I became like a champion beer drinker. That was my thing. Time goes on, my drinking gets out of control. Um, my dad notices. He says, Raphael, why don't you try and have a couple of drinks after the show? Why don't you try and slow down a little bit? Why don't you try not to drink so much? It went in one ear and out the other. I could not stop. I finally went back to New York City. I got married. My wife said, Raphael, listen, you got, the drinking, we got to do something about it. In one ear, out the other ear, did not want to know about it. I came to New York with this huge chip on my shoulder saying, I have arrived. I am the flamenco guitarist. I know exactly how this needs to be done. You guys should be working with me. You guys should be listening to me because I know what it's all about. Every now and then, I actually played halfway sober. And the people were like, wow, Raphael, that's awesome. How do you know all this stuff? That's great. I was like, you kidding me? It's me we're talking about. But what happens after time goes on, I start showing up to work super early. I'm never late. I show up super early. And why do you think that is? So I can get all my drinking in before anybody notices. Now, what happens is when it's time to work, I take the guitar out of the case and it's an absolute disaster. I took the guitar out of my case one time, and I actually thought that I was a left-handed guitarist, and I'm not. I'm right-handed. That's how inebriated I was. And I'm looking at the people. It's like, what's going on? Let's do this. Yeah. And they're looking at me. It's like, dude, Raphael, what the hell? So, needless to say, people stopped calling me for work. And I was like, why aren't these people calling me? Don't they know who I am? I lived in Spain, and I worked with this guy, and I know this guy. People would not call me. They didn't want to get embarrassed. They didn't want to get fired from their jobs by having me on the gig. So I got a huge resentment with a lot of people. So time goes on. I don't know. I get called for this one gig. I'm sitting at my chair. I got my Heineken bottle down here. I'm drinking, doing my thing. And a friend of mine says to me in Spanish, she says, ¿Por qué no dejas esa botella? And what that literally translates to says, why don't you put that bottle down? Now, that's not a statement that's got a lot of weight. That's not like, wow, that's deep. She just said, why don't you put down that bottle? I don't know what happened, but something hit me, and it hit me hard. And I continued to drink at her for the rest of the night because I was so pissed. I was like, oh, you think I'm drinking now? Watch this. I don't know what happened, but it didn't go in this year and out this year. It went in this year, and it started doing this little party up here. I don't know what happened, but I heard what she said. In 2014, I decided to get sober for that very person. I did it while I was on tour. I bought a big book. I don't know what happened to it. It's probably on tour somewhere right now. I kind of went to a meeting once every 2 months. I looked at the steps on the wall. It's like, yeah, that's great. Number 1 through 12. Got it. Let's do this. I white knuckled the hell out of my sobriety for 1 year. And it was hell. It was horrible. It was, I would not wish that on anyone. Someone who really wants to drink and they decide not to drink just to make another person happy and they still have that desire to drink, it is hell. It sucks. It's a terrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling. Needless to say, I relapsed. I lasted 1 year. Time went on. I started drinking again. 2018, again, I don't know what happened. I decided I gotta get my shit together. I got divorced. I was living in Bushwick, Brooklyn, in this small little room, probably about the size of this room right here. I had one bed in my room. I shared the place with 4 other people, the kitchen, the bathroom. It was disgusting. I was eating vegan Subway sandwiches and drinking Foster's beer out of a can, the big ones that are cheap. I was like, I got it made. I don't know what happened. Decided to get sober. I start going to this meeting. My very, very first sponsor, his name was Clint. He comes up to me. I got his book right here that he gave me. This is the very first book he gave me. that I got from Turning Point in Brooklyn. He comes up to me, say, hey, Raphael, my name is Clint. You know, this bald guy with a mustache. My name is Clint. Here's my number. Take this book. Call me. This, that, yada, yada, yada. Tradition 7, tradition 2, step 5, 6. You got to do this. I'm like, whoa, dude, chill out. I'm just trying to get my shit together. I don't know. I call him. We meet up at a diner, start talking about the steps. Okay, things are going all right. I move out of that place. I move over to Queens. I go to this other meeting. I get a sponsor over there, a new sponsor. His name was Jimmy. He helped me out a lot. Talking to Jimmy about sobriety. He's like, all right, kid, don't worry. He's an older guy. He's a fireman. He's got a lot of sobriety. He's like, all right, kid, don't worry. I'll help you with this. We're going to do the steps. I said, all right. He said, meet me here before the meeting, an hour before, and we're going to start working. He said, you got the 12 and 12? I'm like, yeah, I got the 12 and 12. So I go over there with the 12 and 12, and I do my sobriety with him with the 12 and 12, and we get it done in about 2 months. I did the steps from the 12 and 12. So I'm like, okay, that's good, not bad. Time goes on a little bit more, and I'm hearing people share in the meeting, and I'm not really able to understand what's being said. I don't know where people are coming from, and I'm wondering, why is this happening? Why am I not getting this feeling of joy, whatever? Anyway, I'm like, you know what? I think I need to get another sponsor. So I see this guy, Edwin, right? I go up to this guy, Edwin. I said, listen, Edwin, I got this sponsor. His name's Jimmy. He's like, yeah, I know Jimmy, the firefighter. Yeah, what's up? I said, listen, we did the steps. We did it in the 12 and 12. He's like, what? You did the steps in the 12 and 12? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you didn't do it from the big book? I'm like, no. He's like, oh, man. He's like, what do you mean, oh, man? Anyway, we start getting together about once or twice a week in this park over in Brooklyn, and we start reading the book, and I start doing the work. And he starts explaining to me what things in the book mean. And things start to click. Things start to make sense. And I start understanding what people are talking. Not exactly what people are talking about, but I start to understand where people are coming from and how I can relate to what they're talking, what they're feeling. And it starts becoming this beautiful thing. And I'm like, good. I'm on my journey. It's all good. All good, doing sobriety, got Edwin in this corner, Jimmy in that corner, got my peeps in the back, everything's going good. And then wouldn't you know it, all of a sudden, this little thing called COVID decides to hit, I don't know, the world. So what happens? All the meetings stop, there's no more meetings, all the gigs I had, all the work, everything stops, like in the world. I'm like, what the shit is going on? Like, I don't know what to do. Edwin says to me, he says, hey, Raphael, you know what? Believe it or not, they got meetings online. I'm like, online? It's like, what do you mean online? It's like, yeah, Zoom. There's like these bunch of meetings. You got to go on Zoom. It's like, really? How do they do the coffee and the cookies and all that shit? He's like, nah, man, stop being such a wise ass. Just get onto the meeting. I'm like, all right. So I took his advice. I go on Intergroup looking for a meeting, and the first one that pops up is called Sober Start. I go on to Sober Start, start hearing all these people, yeah, good, sobriety, good, I'm back in my game, things are going good, la-di-da-di-da. And then one day, I meet our very own favorite Mr. Glenn K. You know, he says, hey, Raphael, listen, I got this other meeting going on. It's called the Lunch Bunch. It's at 12 o'clock. Why don't you come check that out? I'm like, okay, Glenn, I'm going to come check that out. So I go to the Lunch Bunch, you know, doing that a couple times. And then he has the audacity. He asks me, he's like, hey, Raphael, do you have like half an hour free after this meeting? And right away, I'm like, oh, shit. I did something wrong. I said something wrong. I cross-talked. I mentioned something I shouldn't have. I don't know what happened. I'm like, dude, what does this guy want? Anyway, I meet up with Mr. Glenn K. afterwards. We do this one-on-one session. He says to me, Raphael, do you know about the spiritual roadmap? I was like, oh, man. I was like, shit, Edwin did not tell me about no spiritual roadmap. I said, I do not know what you are talking about. He's like, well, listen, I used to record these guys, Joe and Charlie. I used to travel, and I heard one time this guy was talking about this roadmap, and I have it recorded. I went back and went play, stop, and I got it all down. I know how to do it. I want to show it to you. It's like, okay, great. And then Glenn asked me before we did this, he asked me, how are you with your higher power? I believe he asked me about the higher power. And this was something that was lacking in my whole life and all my sobriety. Because my attitude towards the whole HP thing was if there is a God, great. If there isn't a God, that's also great. Whatever floats your boat, whatever works for you is good. I really did not care if there was a God or if there wasn't one. It wasn't, I had no interest in it at all whatsoever. That's the honest truth. So anyway, Glenn shows me the spiritual roadmap. We do that. He tells me, this is something you can do every morning, something to set your mind straight. He tells me about the 2 pages. He said, Raphael, I want you to do these 2 pages on your knees. I'm like, oh man, really? Okay. I take his suggestion and I do it. I do the 2 pages on my knees. Now, this is about 3 years ago. And I'll tell you guys, I don't know what has happened. I did not see a bright light. I didn't see a burning bush. I didn't get a text from the big man upstairs. None of that crazy stuff, mumbo jumbo, did not happen to me. But something did happen that I cannot describe, that I am a true believer of my HP and that he's in my life and that he's amazing. And if you ask me now, said, Raphael, do you believe in God? My answer is absolutely 100% positively without a doubt. And if you were to ask me now, Raphael, do you believe there is a God? I would say that is up to you. Because whether you choose to believe in one or if you don't choose to believe in one, you're right. I can't tell you. But for me, without a shadow of a doubt, let me see what time it is. I still got some time? 6:36. Okay, now we're going to get to the fun part. 5 years, August 28th, I'm going to be sober of alcohol and you know what else. I still smoke cigarettes every now and then. I'm not going to lie. I do smoke cigarettes, one thing at a time. No alcohol, no cocaine, no crazy behavior. It's amazing. You guys, I'm living in Spain right now. I was born in Jersey, Rochelle Park, brought up in Brooklyn, New York. I'm right now living in Spain. Like I told you before, my dad used to have a flamenco guitars. Well, I'm still doing that. I'm 49. I'm going to be 50 in December. I've been playing flamenco guitar for almost 38 years now. It's a long time. I got a call today. Hey, Raphael, you free on Saturday to play at this tablao? People are calling me to work over here in Spain where people do not mess around over here. You cannot fake the funk over here in Spain. You got to know your shit. People are calling me to play. Other members of Alcoholics Anonymous text me. They call me every day. They want to talk to me. Truly want to talk to me. I talk to my sponsor about once a month, not because I'm going through shit. I call him up. I'm like, yo, Edwin, what's going on? How's your mom doing? What's up with work? I'm not calling because I need to talk to him. Otherwise, I'm going to go drink. These last 5 years have been absolutely amazing. My kid was with me now last, like 2-3 weeks ago. Stayed with me for about 3 weeks. We had an amazing, amazing time. It was, I couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, for me, life in sobriety is amazing. I'm almost scared to say it, but my sister decided to come on over to this fellowship. It's a gift. It's amazing. I am so happy for her. My friend that told me many years ago, Raphael, why don't you put down that damn bottle? God willing, November 15th, she's going to be celebrating 5 years. This program is amazing. If I heard today I heard today a woman talk that next month she would be normally have celebrated 30 years, but she said today, I gotta tell you guys, I got 1 day back. She's been sober for 30 years. And I was thinking to myself, why did she tell us that? Why did she have to tell us that? And she didn't have to tell us that for us to know. She had to tell us that for herself. I do believe that this is a program of honesty. I do believe that this program works if I work it. Um, if God forbid one day I do decide to go and drink, it's going to be my fault. It will not be AA's fault. That's for damn sure. It'll be me trying to take back my will. Um, with that, I really don't have much more to say other than if you're just coming back or if you're new, please stick around. This program is amazing. It's like the best thing out there. It's such a cool way to live life peacefully and to get along with other people, even when you guys don't mix. Because believe me, my ex-wife and I, oh my God, sometimes I would just like, ah, but it's not like that anymore. Even though we disagree, I gotta ask myself, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? You know, let that shit go. With that, I love all of you guys. Glenn, arriba.